Welcome back, dear friends, to this channel where we reflect deeply, breathe slowly, and look beyond appearances to touch the enduring truths that guide a meaningful life. Whether you've been walking this path for some time or you're just beginning your journey, it's a joy to have you here. Today, we are going to explore a phrase that many people hear during their darkest moments, words meant to offer comfort, but rarely fully understood. After tribulation comes blessing. But what does this really mean? Is it just hopeful thinking, or does it point to something more profound? What does Buddhism teach us about this pattern of suffering followed by renewal? Let's begin with the emotional truth of this phrase. If you've lived long enough, you've suffered. Maybe you've lost a loved one. Maybe you've faced betrayal. Maybe you've struggled with illness, anxiety, or the sense that no matter how hard you try, things just don't work out. In those moments, someone might have said to you, "Don't worry. Once this passes, good things will come." But were they speaking from wishful thinking? Or were they pointing toward a deeper loss, something rooted in the nature of existence? According to the teachings of Buddhism, the answer lies not in superstition, but in the profound law of cause and effect, of karma and liberation, of transformation through suffering. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is not punishment, it is not random, it is not a curse. It is the unfolding of causes we have planted, some recently, some perhaps lifetimes ago, and it is also the doorway through which transformation enters our lives. The Buddha never promised a life without pain. What he offered was something more powerful: freedom from being enslaved by pain. He taught that by understanding suffering, we can transcend it, that tribulation is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of awakening. Let's use the metaphor of a seed. A seed must be buried in darkness before it sprouts. It must be split open before life emerges. Without the pressure of soul, without the silent chaos beneath the surface, the seed would never grow. So too with us. Often it is when we are buried in the dark, when we feel broken, when everything familiar falls away, that a new self begins to rise. This is not poetic romanticism. This is the way of the Dharma. The Lotus Sutra reminds us that the mud nourishes the lotus. Without the muck, the flower cannot bloom. In the same way, our personal mud, our grief, mistakes, regrets, and struggles can become the very material that nourishes wisdom and compassion, if we choose to meet it with awareness. Now let's look more closely at karma. Karma is often misunderstood as fate, but in reality, karma means action. Every thought, word, and deed plants a seed. Some ripen quickly, some take years. When we suffer, we are not being punished, we are harvesting the effects of past actions. But here's the liberating truth: the suffering itself plants new seeds. If met with anger, it creates more suffering. If met with clarity, it can become the very ground of blessing. There's a well-known story in Buddhist circles of a practitioner who lost everything in a fire: his home, his work, his livelihood. In deep despair, he went to his teacher and asked, "Why did this happen to me? I have been devout, generous, honest." The teacher didn't respond with sympathy. Instead, he said, "Then let this be your test. You have practiced in ease, now practice in pain. That will reveal who you really are." It sounds harsh, but it's honest. Anyone can chant mantras when life is sweet, but who are you when life burns? That is the moment when the depth of your practice is revealed, and it is in that moment, when you do not turn away, when you do not collapse, that the seed of blessing is planted. Let's talk about another aspect: purification. Buddhism teaches that suffering can be purifying. Think of it as a burning away of old karma, like a forest fire that seems destructive but clears the way for new life. When you endure hardship with patience, with faith, with a sincere heart, you are not just surviving, you are transforming. You are cleansing the unseen burdens you carry. The tears you shed are not wasted. They soften the ground for a deeper peace to take root. But this doesn't mean you should seek out suffering. Buddhism doesn't glorify pain. It respects it. It teaches us to see pain clearly, not to run from it, but to learn from it. To say, this too is my path. This too is teaching me. There is a passage in the Dhammapada that says, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not shaken by praise or blame. When you develop that kind of inner stability, blessings are not something you wait for, they become your way of being. You begin to see that every situation, even the most painful, carries within it the seed of liberation. This is what great teachers mean when they say, your karma is not your destiny. It is your opportunity. And so, when we say, after tribulation comes blessing, we are not invoking some magical thinking. We are speaking to a deep rhythm of life, a rhythm in which night always turns into day, winter into spring, death into rebirth. But this cycle is not automatic. It requires you. It requires your conscious participation. You must meet the suffering. You must stay with it. You must learn its language. You must let it soften you, break you open, reveal your attachments, your illusions, your true strength. And then, quietly, without warning, something shifts. The clouds begin to part. Not because the world changes, but because you've purified a little more karma. You've expanded your capacity for love. You've grown in humility and grace. And that right there is the blessing, not something that happens after the pain, but something that is born from it. Let's return now to a very human moment. Maybe you've been struggling. Maybe you feel like you've been carrying a burden for too long. Maybe you're wondering, when will my blessing come? Dear friend, if you are walking through fire, keep walking. Don't rush, don't resist, and don't lose heart. Because the fire is not the end. The fire is the alchemy. You are not being destroyed. You are being reshaped. And when the time is right, something new will arise from the ashes, not as a reward, but as a natural expression of the inner transformation you have undergone. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are becoming one. Thank you for watching this video. If these words brought you strength or clarity, please share your reflections in the comments below. Like the video to help others find this message, and subscribe to our channel to continue walking this path together. Remember, every challenge holds a blessing, and every moment is a step toward your awakening.